Welcome to Conversations with Mr.A. This is your host, Anthony Abastilla, school counselor here at Chimacum Junior and Senior High. I'll be interviewing students, staff, community members, outside community members, hoping to provide them a voice to share their perspectives and insights. Welcome to another edition of Conversations with Mr.A. This is your host, Anthony Abastilla. This week, I have senior student Daniel Johnson with me. Daniel, thank you so much for being a guest on my show today.
Yeah, no problem.
So, Daniel, you are a senior, and we, as we're recording this is late April. We're going to be graduating pretty soon, June 16th. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm getting more ready by as the days go on. At the start of the year, I'd put it off, didn't think about it, but, it's April now, coming to the end of April, and, starting to realize, I got, 7 weeks, something like that, not even that.
7, 8, 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Getting close.
So, yeah, we're out of here June 3rd, I think.
June 10th.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought June 10th. Oh, maybe I got it mixed up. But, yeah, it's not that long until then, so just kind of been buckling down and getting ready to, get out there and do whatever I'm going to do.
When did the switch flip for you throughout this year?
Honestly, not that long ago. I was trying to put it off for as long as I could, but it's kind of unavoidable at this point, it's just not that much time. So I guess maybe a month ago, I was like, okay, I came in and talked about my credits and stuff, and I realized okay, this is, what was on the itinerary, what I had to actually get done. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, it's actually happening now, so yeah, about a month ago, I'd say.
Okay. How's the journey been for you up to this point, meaning your whole high school career? How do you describe the journey?
Well, I kind of came into high school, indifferent towards all of it. I was getting okay grades. I was passing, and then, sophomore year came around, and that was, no, I don't think many people did good there, and I really struggled with that online format.
Can you describe a little bit about the sophomore year, what it was? I know that was the COVID time, but can you describe a little detail why it was difficult?
Yeah, well, it was difficult because we, first semester we were all at home, and we were, supposed to get up by, it was a little bit later than we have to get up now, but, we were supposed to get up and then turn our computers on and sit at our computers, and then there was this big break in the middle, and then it eventually got to the point where it was we didn't really have much to do. So, me and a bunch of other people we kind of figured out hey, I can just flip over, wake up, have my laptop there and just pass out or, do whatever I want. We weren't, at least myself, I wasn't paying too much attention. And so that ended with me not doing very much work. So, I don't know. I just, I didn't take advantage of what that was, I guess. I didn't really see. I kind of just took advantage of it in a different way. Instead of, getting this lesser amount of work done, I chose to put it off and get some more free time, which was really just me laying in bed, not doing anything. So, yeah. And then second semester came around and I was in school more, and then I started doing more, because we were there for half days. It was it was early, 7:45 to 11-ish or so. And so, that was easy to, get through day by day.
How was the experience coming back last year? Because obviously you came back last year, and then this year is obviously the first full year. And you have to wear the masks. How was that for you?
Well, I like having our normal school experience back. But last year was weird because, I didn't really meet people at this school because, I came here freshman year and that was the week it shut down. So I was here, and there was a half day the week I came, so I was here 4.5 days. And then, sophomore year, and then not everyone came back in the second semester of sophomore year, so I didn't really meet people. So junior year I came, and I was just kind of doing the same thing I was doing in that second semester of sophomore year. It was just hanging around, not really, I didn't really know anybody, and I don't really have trouble going out and meeting people, but like at a new school, I just kind of was like sitting there, like, okay, I'll just, you know, it is what it is. But then, you know, about halfway through junior year, you know, some of the people I'm friends with now started reaching out to me and, you know, like, hey, come sit with us at lunch and everything. And so
how'd that make you feel? That
was really cool. I mean, you know, I don't know why, but I didn't really reach out to anybody and like try to make friends when I got to the school. So then having people like, you know, they saw I was, you know, just sitting alone, which was like, I didn't have a problem with it. But then when they came and, you know, were like, hey, come and sit with us, they were constantly bugging me. I was like, okay, you know, this is really cool. And then I find out these people are awesome people, you know, so that was just a good feeling.
Who are some of the people that reached out to you?
I mean, Nate and AJ and Paisley and Macy and all them, they kind of sat at a table out, kind of just right out there, you know, behind us. And they, you know, they just invited me to sit with them a few times, and then I started doing it. And, you know, I didn't really hang out with them that much last year, but then this year came around and everyone's got their licenses and everything, so then we started hanging out more. So
that's cool. That's cool. You mentioned that one thing I noticed you mentioned so far, so you weren't originally from here. You came from different school districts. I think you've told me before, Key Peninsula. What other schools did you come from originally?
Well, I went to Key Peninsula Middle School, which is on the KP, and then that's down kind of by like Gig Harbor. And then Peninsula Middle School, or high school, I went there for a semester in my 9th grade year. And that was different. It was a big school. I mean, we were the biggest freshman class in a while coming in. I think there were like 400 something of us in that class. And then, you know, so there were like over 1,000 kids in that school.
I'm just wondering, so how did that feel? You came from a bigger school, bigger environment. You've told me you still have friends that are from that area. How did it feel to come from a bigger school environment to here where it's a little smaller?
It was definitely harder to get used to because, I mean, I've never really gone to a smaller school before. I mean, you know, I've lived in a few different places and gone to many different schools. But, you know, I was living out in Michigan, and those schools were always bigger. I mean, the elementary school I went to in Michigan probably had as many kids as we do now.
How is Michigan compared to here in Washington State?
I mean, Michigan, I only really lived there for like 2 years. But it was such a, like, my whole family, we hated Michigan. So it kind of like, in my mind, since I was younger especially, it stretches out, feels like we were there a lot longer. I don't know, we kind of lived like right outside of the Detroit area. So it wasn't, you know, it's not as sketchy as a lot of people make it out to be in some of those areas, but like, it's definitely, I'll take where we're at now over Michigan all day, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing, getting to know you a little bit, you've told me a little bit, you've lived in the trailer parks, and maybe some struggles a little bit with, poverty growing up. Can you tell me a little bit about the experiences?
Yeah, well, so I was born out in Minnesota, and we lived in like a condemned house, I guess, and I don't remember much because I was 2 when we moved. But, yeah, my parents tell me our house was condemned that we were living in out there, and I can't remember what my dad was doing out in Minnesota, but then we moved out to Port Orchard because my grandparents lived out here for years at this point, and then so we were just moving out by family, better job. My dad got a job with his buddy Shane. They had a plumbing company. I don't know what he was doing, but he had a job there, and then we lived in a double wide out in PO, and yeah, and then we moved around a few times. We got lucky. We rented a house from some family friends after that first house out here. And then we moved into another house out by Artendale. And then my dad got laid off at Stacy Plumbing. So he picked up a job with his buddy, his friend from high school. He runs like this company called Auto Warehousing Company, and they kind of like, they put like the glass on cars and stuff. They import them and then ship them out after they do all that stuff. And then he got a job there, but the only opening was in their Michigan facility. So we had to move out there. And then we moved out there. We lived out in like a little bit of it wasn't like a nice neighborhood, but nicer than the trailer park we were living in. You know, the yards were all green grass and everything. I don't know, but trying to paint a picture of, it was, you know, a smaller house, but we didn't need a bigger house at the time because we were smaller family back then. I think it was 5, maybe 6 of us, I think. So yeah, we were living out there, and then, you know, I was younger, so I don't really know why we moved into the trailer park, but, you know, money was tight. It was just my dad working. So we moved into a trailer park about 15 minutes away from that neighborhood. And then I went to a different elementary school out there, and that elementary school, we had problems there, I guess. They didn't really accommodate kids well. I don't know. So we moved back to the elementary school I went to at the first house. And then, so I was living we were living in the trailer park for maybe a year, but man, that was a lot. I mean, I was like 8 at the time. A lot of just crazy stuff went down. I mean, I remember we used to get a lot of rain out in Michigan. And then, you know, every year during the rainy season, we'd get a big, like, it'd come down on us. And then, in the trailer park, the drains would clog up, and so the streets would flood, and then kids would go out into the streets and swim in that rainwater in the streets.
Oh, wow.
And they tried to get us out, but my mom was too smart because, I mean, there were trash cans tipping over, and so there was garbage floating in that water and stuff, and my mom was like, you guys are not swimming in that. And you'd be like, what? Like, everyone's out there swimming, like, why can't, you know?
How deep was the water?
Oh, they were swimming, like, it was flooded. So, I mean, it was deep enough. Yeah, and then I remember one time my grandpa came out to stay with us for a little while. I think it may have been after my sister was born out in Michigan. But they got the news out there, and the news, the van, and they were showing live right in front of our house. And then my grandpa goes over there. He's like, I'm going to be on TV. So he's going over there trying to get in there and trying to get an interview and everything. It was the funniest thing, but yeah, I mean, that happened multiple times. So it was crazy.
How did the experiences shape you who you are today as a person, or did it kind of influence you with how you look at things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was too young to realize at the time what our financial situation was looking like because, you know, we always had food on the table. I mean, my parents always made sure we were taken care of, but, you know, we've come a long way since then, so it's given me a better lens, I guess, to look through, to look back and, like, realize that, you know, as much as I'd want to, you know, get down on myself and be like, oh, life sucks right now. I mean, you look back, I mean, it's been worse for us, and it's a lot worse for a lot of other people. So I guess you just learn to appreciate where you've come from and where you're at right now. Yeah.
Awesome. What would you say up to this point, what would you say your biggest accomplishment's been, personally?
Honestly, I think I'm pretty proud of the fact that my mom's in a band and I've gotten the privilege to play with them live. I think that's pretty cool because, you know, since the 8th grade, music has been, you know, probably the biggest thing in my life, you know. And so since then, it's always been a race to see, you know, am I going to be able to get there and do something with that? And I think that's a big milestone for me, getting up and playing in front of people with like a well put together band. I think that's so far been my biggest like milestone, accomplishment, achievement, whatever.
That's awesome. So let's go on the flip side. What would you say some of your biggest obstacles or struggles have been? Maybe even failure. How have you learned from it?
Honestly, my biggest obstacle has been trying to figure out what I'm actually going to do with my life, because outside of music, I don't really have any big like goals or passions, you know. So it's been kind of hard to try and channel the music thing into something I can do that will be able to support me when I'm out of high school and, you know, living on my own. So I guess I guess trying to figure out what I'm going to do outside of that, trying to build a passion for something. That's been my biggest struggle.
Awesome. All right, so continuing on, who are some of the 3 biggest influences you've had in your life, and how have they impacted you?
Okay, the biggest one is my dad. I mean, looking back and seeing how he, supported us through everything when we were going through the financial straits and everything. And just like his character, everything that he has said to me over, through my childhood and up until now, is really rubbed off on me. And anytime that I'm struggling with, who I want to be as a person and how I want to treat people and how I want to think and everything, that, I just look to him. And he's always been a person that I can come to and bring these kinds of internal struggles to. And he just kind of has a way, because he's lived through all of it himself. So he's got the knowledge, and he's never been afraid to help me out and let me know and steer me in the right direction. And then I guess, in no particular order, no one greater than the other, but my mom too. She's probably the smartest person I've ever known, and she's come so far. And she started out bartending when we were younger a little bit, off and on, and then to see where she's come now, with her food blog and everything, like she started that up when we were way younger, and it was doing nothing for a while.
Could you explain to me what the food blog is?
Yeah, well, she kind of just makes up her own recipes, cooks the food, and then she takes pictures of it. Then she writes a post about it, and then puts the ingredients up, and then she posts it up there on her food blog. And she does a bunch of different stuff, like Traeger grills and Blackstone flat top grills. So she does a bunch of content for them, and like different like spice brands and like meat rub brands she'll do content for. And then so it's a bunch of different stuff. But she started doing that a long time ago, and it didn't do that type of stuff. It's a website. It didn't get any traction for years, but she kept doing it, and she stuck with it, and now it's like it's her own business now, and it's making her money. And I think it's just awesome that she, because I would have given up right away. And I think most people would have. You start a website and you're doing all this work for free, because it's, it's not easy stuff. Especially like getting down to like writing the posts and everything, like that's not, at least for me, that's not the easiest thing in the world at all. And to do all that stuff for free for years on end is, that's, to me, seems like it would be a tiring thing, but she kept going with it. And so, that's another struggle I would have would be like determination and, the willingness to buckle down and get something done. But she's really been a source of like inspiration for that when I need it, especially now, because that's something I need in my life. And so when I'm struggling with that, I look to her and see how she has done that throughout her whole life. And so
you're very close with your mom, I could tell.
Yeah,
just by listening in.
Yeah, no, me and both my parents have a good, really close relationship. We don't have any problems really. I got, I did my teenager trouble stuff when I was younger, like 8th grade, and then, me and my dad would have it out. Me and my mom, I was a little bit disrespectful, all that, but then they really helped me pull out of that early. And so for years now, we really haven't had very many issues, and if we do, it's a lot more of a mature, work it out type of thing. So yeah.
That leads to my next question. So you mentioned, you had your teenager troubles and you struggled with that.
Yeah.
What advice would you tell students or other teenagers, younger teenagers that are going through those troubled times? Like, what would you tell them? What would older Daniel tell younger students?
I would really just tell you, as you come up and become teenagers and you get up in, 14, 15, for some reason, you're going to think you know everything, and you're going to want to push away all the advice you're getting, and you're going to want to rebel. But you're going to realize that that doesn't benefit you, And I think it's better to start taking that advice earlier rather than later, and just bite the bullet and realize you're not smart. You haven't lived it. You don't know anything at this point in your life. So, everyone's going to go through a little bit of it, I think, but the sooner you can realize that the people around you are a lot smarter than you are, I think the better off you'll be, and the quicker you'll get out of that phase.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we're going to jump ahead to the favorite part of these sessions, the word associations. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a word or two. Tell me your immediate thoughts come to mind.
Okay.
First word, I think everyone loves this word, pickles.
Oh, everyone except for you.
Yeah.
Well, definitely the first thing I think of is your hatred for them.
I have a little bit of hatred, not too much.
Yeah, but then the second thing I think of is like a nice tuna fish sandwich melt. When I don't like cooking all that much, but when I do cook, I'll go up and I'll get a can of, albacore tuna, and I'll mix that up with some mayo, and then we have these really good pickles. My mom, this year she got the brine right. And so the pickles she made are really good. So I'll chop a few of those up and put them in with the tuna, and then I'll slap them on some bread and some cheese, and then I'll throw that on a pan and toast that up. So that's what pickles make me think of right now.
All right.
I'm hungry.
Okay. Metallica.
Oh, well, shoot. That was like the first heavier band I got into. My dad showed me those guys, and now we have tickets to go see them in 2024.
Oh, jealous. I'm so jealous.
Yep, so we got tickets to see them both days.
2 days.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, it'll be about a 20-song set list each day, too, so.
I'm insanely jealous.
Yeah, no, that's going to be awesome.
Disco music.
Honestly, I'm not like deep into it, but I can't say that I dislike it. It's not something I could go and dive deep into and learn everything about like I do with some other genres, but I like it. I think I can say that with confidence.
Okay. Being a gentleman.
Definitely one of the most important things. I think treating people with respect is just, it's a baseline. If you don't do that, people aren't going to like you. And so I think that's something you should bring into every interaction in your daily life.
Okay. Camping.
Makes me think of the camping trips that I used to go on with my grandparents. We used to go out to Moses Lake, I think it was. They had an RV park that they would stay at, and all the family would come out, even from like Minnesota and everything. And I remember one time, the first time I went, it was just me. My aunt took me, and I was hanging out with all the cousins, and then my mom had found out I went to the pool with just my cousins and not any adults around, so she made me come home early. And so that was a bummer, but I'm over that now. But yeah, camping, that's what I think of.
Cool. Relationships.
I'm thinking I'll figure it out eventually.
Okay. All right. Superheroes.
Spider-Man. It's my favorite.
Not a bad pick.
Yeah.
Not a bad pick at all.
Just watched one of those movies, The Amazing Spider-Man. I used to hate on that movie, but I watched it with my younger siblings a couple days ago, and I actually think it's great.
Okay. Favorite food?
Oh, shoot. I bounce back on this a lot. Honestly, anything with fish in it. I mean, because we fish a lot, but I've just grown to like fish in any shape or form over the last few years. So, yeah, anything fish, any seafood.
Awesome. And any final words that you'd like to tell our listeners out there?
I mean, for any seniors out there listening, I might not be the biggest, what's the word, role model out there, but I guess I could just say make sure you get your stuff done, because we don't have that much time left, and I don't want to have to leave anyone behind. I want everyone to walk. I think that would be really cool if we could all walk when graduation comes around. So, yeah. Awesome.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being part of the show. It's a pleasure to have you on this week.
Yeah, it was awesome to come on. I was really looking forward to this.
Okay. And that concludes this week's edition of Conversations with Mr. A with Daniel Johnson. One thing I'll say about Daniel, I told him this too right afterwards. He needs to give himself a lot more credit than he gives himself, because he's actually he's overcome a lot of adversity, and he's actually a much stronger person than he realizes. And he's really, really a good kid. And it's going to take him a while. He said it'll take him a while to figure things out. But when he figured things out, I'll tell you, I think he will come far, and he will definitely go to a lot of good places. So thank you for listening. Stay tuned for another edition of Conversations with Mr. A coming up next week. Thank you for listening.